Okay, so let's get into it. Today we are doing a deep dive into something, uh, something that's really critical for long-term survival in business.
Hmm. It really is.
Yeah, how companies manage their marketing organizations in this. I mean, it's a chaotic environment, right?
Yeah.
Constantly turbulent.
And pretty unforgiving. We're moving way beyond just talking about ads or social media posts today.
Exactly. We're looking at the whole scaffolding, the entire corporate structure that's needed to support real, sustainable growth.
Hmm.
And this is all for you, the learner.
That's right, because all our sources today, they're pointing in one direction. It's this necessary shift away from traditional siloed marketing
Right.
and into what we're calling holistic marketing. It's really the only way to succeed in the 21st century.
So what does that mean exactly? Holistic marketing.
Well, it's an approach that's built on four kind of fundamental pillars. You have to focus on building relationships. You have to make sure all your efforts are truly integrated. You need solid internal marketing. And finally, everything, and I mean everything, has to be driven by performance marketing, real measurable results.
So our mission today is pretty ambitious. We're going to try and unpack this whole framework.
We are.
And to do that, we need to answer four big questions. First, what are the huge seismic shifts that are defining modern marketing? Second, how does a company actually do effective internal marketing? When every single department is now facing the customer.
A huge challenge.
Third, what does it really mean to be a responsible social marketer? Genuinely responsible, without, just greenwashing.
And that's a big risk.
And finally, what are the actual tools, the specific advanced tools that help you monitor and improve marketing beyond just looking at a sales report?
And we're going to start with an example that just proves the entire premise right out of the gate.
Yeah, that social responsibility isn't some cost you have to deal with.
No, it's a core business strategy that you can leverage for huge success.
So let's talk about Timberland.
The boot company.
Right. You think rugged boots, outdoor gear. But this company, because of their passion for the outdoors, they made environmental and social commitment the absolute core of who they are.
And it wasn't just talk, it was radical, it was tangible. I mean, think about it. They decided to give their shoes a nutrition label.
A nutrition label on a shoe.
Yeah, exactly. It measured the shoe's greenness. They tracked energy use, transportation impact, fair labor costs, all of it. This level of transparency was, it was unheard of in the early 2000s.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because they launched this line, the Earthkeepers line.
Which was designed from the ground up for sustainability.
Right. They're using organic cotton, recycled plastics from bottles, even recycled tires for the soles. But the most profound thing
Was the disassembly.
exactly. They designed the shoes so that over half the parts could actually be recycled at the end of the product's life.
And this wasn't some tiny niche project. This deep, deep commitment translated directly into huge business success. Their sales hit over $1.2 billion in 2009. And they were winning major awards for corporate leadership. So the takeaway is just, it's undeniable. Socially responsible companies can achieve massive success because of their commitment, not in spite of it.
That just sets the stage perfectly for part one, which is all about navigating this new marketing environment. Our sources all agree the world is just a very different place for marketers today.
It's not one thing, it's a stack of massive interconnected shifts hitting all at once.
Like what?
Well, you've got massive globalization, huge deregulation of markets. You have markets fragmenting into smaller and smaller pieces. You have consumers who are more empowered than ever before because of digital tools. And you have these soaring environmental concerns.
And technology is just amplifying all of it.
Absolutely. Powerful computers, the internet in your pocket on a cell phone. It's changed everything.
So the combined effect of all that has pushed us into what our sources call the age of discrimination and turbulence.
It's a great phrase because we've been in this slow growth economy for a while now with consumers who are incredibly discriminating.
And yet, competition is more aggressive than ever, fighting for those same dollars.
And it changed the whole philosophy of consumption. The era of, conspicuous consumption, just buying stuff to show off, that's largely over.
At least it shifted.
It's shifted. A lot of consumers are weighed down by debt, and they are now actively penalizing firms that still push that old buy now, pay later idea without delivering real fundamental value.
So the pressure on marketers is just, it's intense. It's not enough to be flashy or cheap anymore.
Not at all. They have to create and communicate true value. Marketing has this new responsibility to genuinely improve quality of life, but that means companies have to realize they can't win by just standing still.
And if they do stand still, well, they become cautionary tales.
We all know the names.
Blockbuster.
Barnes & Noble.
Books Kodak.
Right. These were giants that faced this dramatically different environment, and they stumbled or failed outright.
But what's the real lesson there? It's easy to say they failed to adapt. What does that actually mean? Was it just that their advertising was bad?
No, and that's the critical point. It wasn't a failure of marketing execution. It was a failure to fundamentally change the business model.
So Blockbuster was still focused on physical stores.
When streaming completely changed the game. Kodak invented digital photography, but they couldn't pivot their entire company away from selling chemical film. They failed because they couldn't redefine how they delivered value.
So they needed a total pivot, like we saw from IBM or Microsoft.
Exactly. Those companies eventually made the hard choices and succeeded. It just proves that marketing isn't an afterthought you tack on at the end.
It has to be there from the very beginning.
Absolutely. The modern marketer has to be in the room with R&D, with sales, with finance from day one, instilling that value creation mindset across the whole organization, the holistic mindset.
So if this is the change that's required, what does this new way of thinking look like day to day? Our sources lay out some of these key shifts in business practices, and they have huge implications for you, the learner.
Let's start with re-engineering. This is about moving away from that rigid departmental structure, where marketing only talks to sales through memos.
A silo effect.
Right. And instead, you're using flexible cross-functional teams to manage the entire customer value building process from end to end. So what here is just massive efficiency.
Because R&D and manufacturing are sitting together from day one, focused on the customer's journey, not just their own department's budget.
Precisely. Next up is benchmarking. This is just the continuous process of studying best practice companies.
Not just your direct competitor.
No, not at all. You're looking for excellence anywhere it exists. Maybe Amazon has the best logistics, or maybe a local restaurant has the best customer service. It forces a certain humility.
And that connects to the next shift, which is flattening.
Right, taking layers out of the hierarchy. You're reducing the number of organizational levels to get the decision makers physically closer to the customer.
Which has to speed up response times, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If a frontline employee can solve a problem without 3 levels of approval, the whole experience is better.
Instantly better. And you're getting unfiltered data back to the top much faster.
There's also a huge push for accountability, which brings us to justifying.
This is huge. Marketers now have to meticulously measure, analyze, and document the effects of all their actions.
So the days of, I just have a good feeling about that ad, are over.
Completely over. It's moving marketing from a speculative art to a demonstrable science. You have to justify the investment.
And then there's broadening.
This is the shift away from just serving customers and shareholders. It's the stakeholder view. You have to factor in the interests of employees, suppliers, the community, everyone your business touches.
And finally, monitoring. In the age of social media, you have to be listening.
Constantly. Tracking what's being said online, studying customers and competitors. The transparency of the web just demands honesty and authenticity. If you're not, you'll be called out in a second.
And all these shifts, they're helping firms manage these inherent ethical dilemmas, like the need for green innovation.
Right. Consumers want convenience, disposable products, single-use packaging. But how do you justify that in a world that desperately needs sustainability?
It feels like an impossible conflict to resolve.
Yeah.
High quality, convenient, cheap, but also sustainable and ethical.
Exactly. Which is why you need these creative win-win solutions. And the absolute textbook example of how to pull that off is the Toyota Prius.
It's hard to imagine now, but the experts scoffed when Toyota said they'd sell a lot of them.
They really did. Back in 2001, they thought the market wasn't ready. And by 2004, the Prius had a 6-month waiting list.
So what was the winning formula?
It was a brilliant piece of holistic marketing. It had amazing fuel economy, 55 miles per gallon. But, and this is the key, it also had the roominess and power of a family sedan.
And it looked eco-friendly. It signaled something about the driver.
Exactly. It hit the ethical, the functional, and the economic needs of the consumer, all at an affordable price. The lesson is just so clear. You have to use creative, win-win solutions and build sustainability in from the earliest design stages. You can't just tack a green label on at the end.
That idea, That change has to start at the design stage and really permeate the whole company. That pushes us directly into part two, the internal revolution.
This is the core of holistic marketing. It demands a massive shift in how the marketing function even operates inside the company.
It's all about what our sources call defining internal marketing.
Right. Traditionally, marketing was a kind of middleman. They'd figure out what customers wanted and then tell the other departments.
Like a separate, specialized unit.
Exactly. But in today's world, every functional area can and does interact with customers. Marketing doesn't own the customer anymore.
So what does internal marketing require then?
Two things. First, everyone in the organization, from the CEO down to the assembly line, has to accept the goals of marketing. And second, they have to truly internalize that their job, whatever it is about creating, serving, and satisfying customers.
That is a radical cultural shift.
It is. And we have a great deep dive here on what these customer-driven departments actually look like in practice.
Okay, so let's make this practical. What about R&D? We usually picture them in a lab, totally isolated.
Right, in an ivory tower. But that just can't happen anymore. They have to be out there meeting customers, listening to their problems, seeing how they actually use the product.
So they have to welcome input from marketing and manufacturing on new projects.
They have to. And they have to be benchmarking competitors' products constantly and getting real customer feedback as the project moves along. R&D has to be market-facing.
What about manufacturing? We tend to think of them as being focused just on cost control.
But their job is customer service, too. They should be inviting customers to tour their plants, and they should be visiting customer factories to see how their products are used in the field.
And things like working overtime to meet a delivery schedule.
Yes. Aiming for zero defects, being willing to do profitable customization. They are delivering on the promise that marketing makes.
And what about sales? Their job has to be more complex now than just closing a deal.
Much more. They need deep, specialized knowledge of the customer's entire industry. They have to give the customer the best solution, which means only making promises they can absolutely keep.
And here's the internal marketing part.
Right. They have to feed customer needs and ideas back to product development. They're the early warning system. They're the innovation catalyst.
And we can't forget the support functions, like finance and accounting.
No. They have to support long-term marketing investments, like image advertising, even if the payback isn't in the next quarter's report.
And they're on the front line, too.
They are. Tailoring invoices, deciding on credit quickly. Even the bill is part of the marketing experience. Every single interaction matters.
That kind of transition requires a totally different way of organizing the marketing department. Our sources detail 5 different models, and they all have trade-offs.
The first, and maybe the most common historically, is the functional organization. You have specialist advertising, sales, research, all reporting to a VP of marketing.
The advantage is it's simple.
Very simple, but the big drawback is coordination. If the advertising manager and the sales manager have conflicting priorities, who decides? It breaks down as the company gets more complex.
Okay, so the second is the geographic organization. This is for companies selling across a big area.
Right. And it's crucial for localizing your marketing. You know, in a place like Miami-Dade County in Florida, where 2/3 of households are Hispanic, you need a local specialist who can adjust the messaging, the packaging, the media buys.
You get closer to the ground.
Exactly.
The third one is the product or brand management organization. This is common in places like P&G with tons of different products.
You can picture it as a hub-and-spoke system. The brand manager is at the center, and their job is huge. Developing strategy, preparing the annual plan, working with ad agencies, gathering intelligence.
But the sources say this structure has major flaws. If it's so flawed, why do so many companies still use it?
Because it lets them focus intensely on a single product and react quickly. But the flaws eventually show up. Brand managers often don't have the actual authority to get things done.
So they have to persuade everyone.
Right. And they become product experts, but not functional experts. They might know everything about Cheerios, but nothing about digital media optimization. Plus, it's expensive. And the high turnover in those roles leads to short-term thinking.
So what's the alternative?
Well, you see things like a brand asset management team, or BAMT. It pulls together key people from different functions, R&D, finance, marketing, to give the brand manager more support.
And that leads naturally into category management.
a shift really pioneered by P&G. Instead of a brand manager for Tide and another for Downy, they started focusing on the entire laundry detergent category.
Because that's how retailers think.
Exactly. Retailers think in profitable categories, and this even evolves into aisle management.
The General Mills Yoplait example here is fantastic.
It really is. They didn't just worry about their own yogurt. They acted as a category advisor to 24 major retailers for the whole dairy aisle.
So by helping the retailers organize their shelves better.
They boosted overall yogurt sales nationwide by 13% and their own sales by 9%. They made the retailer more profitable, and that cemented their relationship. That is holistic value.
Okay, fourth structure, market management organization.
This is for when you have customer groups with really distinct buying habits. Think of Canon selling fax machines to consumers, to small businesses, and to huge government agencies. 3 totally different buying processes.
So you organize around the customer group, not the product.
Right. It leads to market-centered organizations like Xerox and HP, who started selling by industry, healthcare, finance, instead of just by geography.
And the fifth one is the matrix management organization.
Which tries to combine product and market managers. It's complex, it's costly, and it creates a lot of conflict over who has the final authority. It's tough to pull off.
But regardless of the structure you choose, the goal has to be building a creative culture.
Yes, our sources are so clear on this. Being customer-oriented is necessary, but it is not enough.
Why not?
Because advantages get copied too quickly. The only real long-term defense is building a systemic capability for strategic innovation.
So you have to avoid what happened to Motorola, who was late to digital cell phones, or Nestle, who missed the whole coffeehouse trend.
Exactly. They got too obsessed with efficiency and they lost their innovative edge. Real transformation requires a company-wide passion for customers and organizing around customer segments, not just products.
And that kind of culture, it has to start at the very top, with the role of the CEO.
Absolutely. The CEO has to take concrete, visible actions. Look at Jack Welch at GE or Lou Gerstner at IBM. They reportedly spent 100 days a year visiting customers.
100 days a year.
Yes. Despite their insane schedules, that sends an undeniable message to every single employee about what's important.
And they have to change the reward systems.
Critically, as long as finance is only rewarded for short-term quarterly profit, they're always going to resist big, long-term investments in things like R&D or brand building.
And finally, empowerment.
It's key. Progressive companies empower their employees to solve customer problems on the spot. The example of IBM letting frontline staff spend up to $5,000 to fix a problem is it's incredible.
Wow, $5,000, just like that. That says everything about the trust they're trying to build. It's valuing the customer over bureaucracy. Moving into part 3, we have to talk about the social imperative. Socially responsible marketing. This isn't a nice to have anymore, is it?
Not at all. It's a fundamental requirement, and it's being driven by these massive external forces that marketers just cannot ignore.
What are those forces?
Well, you've got rising customer expectations, much tighter government pressure and legislation, and investors who are increasingly interested in social criteria.
And intense media scrutiny.
Intense, especially online. And critically, good CSR helps you attract and retain younger employees who really want to work for companies they feel good about.
This brings us back to that stakeholder view, which, used to be controversial. Milton Friedman famously called social initiatives fundamentally subversive.
He did. He thought they just wasted shareholder money.
But the modern consensus is the exact opposite.
It is. It's now widely accepted that your business success is tied directly to how well you serve all your stakeholders, customers, employees, the community. It's not a distraction. It's how you secure your long-term license to operate.
And we have a massive example of this with Walmart's sustainability drive.
Yeah, back in 2005, their CEO committed $500 million to sustainability projects. They set these huge goals: double their vehicle fleet efficiency, eliminate 30% of energy use in stores.
And it wasn't just for show. It yielded huge, tangible wins.
Massive wins. By eliminating excess packaging on just one toy line, they saved 3,800 trees and 1 million barrels of oil.
Wow.
And on the shipping side, they saved an estimated $2.4 million a year. Just because the packages were smaller and lighter, sustainability became efficiency. It became cost control.
That's the core idea behind what our sources call firms of endearment.
It's a great concept. The idea is that these humanistic companies foster this culture of caring that serves all their stakeholders, what they call SPICE: society, partners, investors, customers, and employees.
And what's fascinating is the financial result.
It is. These firms actually spend less on traditional marketing, yet they make more profit
How does that work?
because their customers love them so much that they do the marketing for them through word of mouth and loyalty. It's an incredible model.
And this kind of integrity, it relies on what our sources call the three pillars of responsibility.
First, there's legal behavior. This is the baseline. You have to obey the law, no bribery, no false advertising. That's non-negotiable.
Second is ethical behavior. This is the gray area.
Right. This is where you face dilemmas. The example of Kraft stopping ads for Oreos on kids' TV is a good one. It's about recognizing the ethical responsibility that comes with your product category.
And third is social responsibility behavior.
This is where you're proactive. Companies like Microsoft, Google, Johnson & Johnson, they're exercising their social conscience. Customers are demanding this transparency now. Heinz put out a 108-page CSR report.
But this scrutiny creates its own problems, doesn't it? Like with Nestle and the Kit Kat bars.
A perfect example. Greenpeace linked their palm oil purchasing to rainforest destruction, and a social media war just exploded. Nestle was forced to cut ties with the supplier, but the brand damage was already done. The optics are everything.
Which leads us straight to the challenge of sustainability and greenwashing.
Right. The guiding principle for sustainability is the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. And our sources are clear. The people part has to come first.
But the focus on planet has led to this greenwashing dilemma.
It has, firms giving their products the appearance of being eco-friendly without the substance. One study showed half of so-called green products focus on one tiny benefit while hiding huge drawbacks, like how energy-intensive they are to manufacture.
It's a huge trust issue. But the market is responding to genuine effort. We see that in the organic boom.
We do. Organic isn't fringe anymore. Look at Chipotle and their Food with Integrity mission. That focus on natural and organic ingredients is core to their whole brand identity.
A major tactic that companies use, and one they have to manage very carefully, is cause-related marketing, or CRM.
This is where you link a financial contribution to a cause based on customer purchases.
And the benefits can be huge, right? It builds awareness, enhances the brand's image.
It really does, and it resonates so strongly with millennial consumers. One study showed 85% of them are likely to switch to a brand that's associated with a good cause.
But the risks are just as high, which we saw with the KFC dilemma.
Oh, buckets for the cure. A classic case study in what not to do.
Yeah, they were raising money for the Susan G. Komen Foundation for breast cancer,
While simultaneously launching their infamous Double Down sandwich.
which is, a product that arguably contributes to obesity, a major risk factor for that very disease. The conflict was just so glaring.
The backlash was immediate and huge. It proves that cause marketing backfires spectacularly if consumers think you're being disingenuous.
But on the positive side, you have things like Product to Read.
A brilliant collaboration, championed by Bono, teaming up iconic brands like Apple and Gap. Up to 50% of profits went to fight HIV/AIDS in Africa.
And the results were staggering.
They were. In its first 18 months, it raised over $36 million. It just shows the power of high-profile, authentic collaboration when the brands and the cause are aligned.
And then there's Tom and Sue's, their one-for-one model.
This is a pure example of integrating the cause directly into the business model itself.
How does it work financially?
They just take the money that would have been spent on traditional advertising and promotions, and they use it to pay for the donated pair of shoes. It generated massive free publicity and put over 1 million pairs of shoes on kids' feet. The business is the cause.
So when a company is choosing the cause, they have to be strategic.
Very. Sporadic involvement doesn't work. And some causes, like breast cancer awareness, are incredibly crowded. You risk getting lost in a sea of pink ribbons.
So there's an opportunity in what our sources call orphan causes.
Exactly. Or neglected major killers, like heart disease in women, which kills way more women than breast cancer. Smart marketers look for causes that are underfunded but highly relevant.
And the most important factor is fit and authenticity.
It has to be believable. Lens crafters providing free vision care is a natural fit. Barnum's Animal Crackers raising awareness for endangered species makes perfect sense.
Finally, in this section, we should touch on social marketing. This is different from cause-related marketing.
It is. This is marketing done by nonprofits or governments to further a cause itself. Think Say No to Drugs or campaigns to promote exercise.
And these campaigns have different objectives, right?
4 main ones. They can try to change cognitions, like explaining nutrition. They can target actions, like getting people to vote. They can try to change behaviors, like demotivating smoking. Or they can try to change fundamental values on complex social issues.
The World Wildlife Foundation is a great example here.
They're masters of it. They don't have a huge ad budget, so they rely on creative direct marketing and powerful corporate partnerships with firms like IKEA and Nike. They've invested over $1 billion in thousands of projects. It's incredible.
And for anyone listening who's a social marketer, the key success factors are promoting a single, doable behavior, explaining the benefits clearly, and making it easy to adopt. Social change is hard, and it takes time.
Okay, that brings us to the fourth and maybe the most critical pillar of all this: implementation and control. I mean, a brilliant strategy is totally useless if you can't implement it and measure it.
That's it, exactly. Strategy is the what and the why. Implementation is the who, where, when, and how.
And there's a desperate need for implementation and efficiency.
Desperate, because marketing costs can be a quarter of a company's total operating budget. That is an enormous line item. You have to be able to prove the return on that investment.
This gets us into marketing control. Our sources outline 4 distinct types that every holistic marketer needs to master.
The first is annual plan control. This is about making sure you're hitting your planned goals, sales, profits, and so on. It's a continuous cycle of setting goals, measuring performance, diagnosing what happened, and taking corrective action.
Okay, so that's the day-to-day, week-to-week work. Right. The second is profitability control. This is the analytical backbone. It's about rigorously figuring out where you are making money and, just as importantly, where you are losing money.
And not just for the whole company.
No, you have to break it down by product, by territory, by customer, by channel.
The third is efficiency control.
This is about improving the spending efficiency of your marketing. Is your sales force using their time well? Is your advertising effective? A lot of big companies now have a specialized marketing controller who just focuses on this.
And finally, strategic control.
This is the big picture. Periodically reassessing your whole strategic approach to the market using tools like a comprehensive marketing audit. It's about making sure your strategy still fits the environment.
Let's do a deep dive into the annual plan control tools, because this is where the precision really comes in.
Okay, so with sales analysis, there are 2 key tools. The first is sales variance analysis. This tells you why you missed your sales target.
Let's use that widget example from the source material. Say the plan was $4,000 in sales, but you only hit $2,400. That's a $1,600 shortfall.
Right. So the variance analysis might tell you that $600 of that shortfall was because your price declined. Maybe you ran some unexpected discounts.
But the other $1,000
was due to volume decline. You just didn't sell as many widgets as you planned. And that immediately tells management to stop arguing about price and start figuring out why the sales volume collapsed. Was it a new competitor? A distribution problem?
The second tool is microsales analysis. This is what tells you where the problem is.
Exactly. So if you look at your 3 sales territories, you might find that Territory 1 was only down a little, Territory 2 was actually up, but Territory 3 had a massive 46% shortfall.
So you know instantly that 90% of your problem is in Territory 3.
And you know exactly where to deploy your resources to fix it. It saves so much time and guesswork.
We also have to use market share analysis, but we need to go beyond just the basic overall market share number.
That number can be really misleading. You have to track served market share, your sales, as a percentage of the specific market you choose to serve. It's a much better measure of your effectiveness.
And there's relative market share,
which is your share compared to your biggest competitor. That's a key indicator of market power.
Yet to figure out why your share is moving, the sources break it down into 4 diagnostic factors. This is getting really scientific.
It is. First is customer penetration. What percentage of potential customers buy from you? Second, customer loyalty. How much of their total spending in the category do they give to you?
Third is customer selectivity.
The size of your average customer's purchase. And fourth, price selectivity. The average price you charged compared to the competition. So if your share declined, you can diagnose exactly why. Did you lose customers? Or are your remaining customers just buying less? It's indispensable.
This precision brings us to the most complex part of financial control: profitability control. Let's use that lawnmower company example to really walk through how this works.
Okay, so there are 3 steps to a marketing profitability analysis. Step 1 is you have to identify your functional expenses.
So you can't just look at salaries as one big number.
No. You have to convert that natural expense into functional expenses. How much of that salary cost went to selling? How much to advertising? To packing and delivery?
Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is assigning those functional expenses to your marketing entities, like your different sales channels. You have to calculate the cost per unit of activity. For instance, if selling costs $5,500 and the team made 275 sales calls, that's $20 per sales call.
And then step 3 is where the magic happens.
Right. You prepare a profit and loss statement for each channel. You assign the cost based on how much each channel consumed, how many sales calls they got, how many ads they were in.
And in the lawnmower example, the results were just shocking.
They were. Hardware stores had half the sales, $30,000, but only generated $450 in profit.
A tiny profit.
Tiny. Garden supply shops with $10,000 in sales were actually losing the company $310.
They were losing money on them.
And the department stores, with only a third of the sales, were making almost all the profit, over $5,000.
So the key insight is just glaringly obvious. Gross sales is not a reliable indicator of net profits.
Not at all. This gives management undeniable data to act on. Maybe you raise prices to the garden supply shops, or you cut back on the support you give them. You can make informed decisions.
But hold on, this brings up the costing controversy. It seems easy to assign direct costs, like a sales commission. But what about common costs?
That's the tricky part. You can trace some common costs, like rent for a warehouse that serves one channel. But the real controversy is with non-traceable common costs, things like corporate image advertising or the CEO's salary. Allocating those is often totally arbitrary.
That's called the full cost approach.
Right. And advocates say you have to do it to see the true profitability, but critics say it has 3 huge weaknesses.
What are they?
First, the profitability numbers change wildly depending on which arbitrary allocation method you use, which undermines trust. Second, it demoralizes managers who get charged for costs they can't control.
And third,
it weakens real cost control because managers spend their time fighting the arbitrary allocations from corporate instead of managing the costs they actually can control. For day-to-day management, focusing on direct and traceable costs is way more effective.
Okay, so let's turn to strategic control. The marketing audit.
Right. Since the average company loses half its customers in 5 years, you sometimes need a total top-to-bottom review. A marketing audit is defined as being comprehensive, systematic, independent, and periodic.
That independence is critical, isn't it?
It's everything. A self-audit is never objective. That's why outside consultants are often best. They bring objectivity, broad experience, and no internal political baggage. And it has to be periodic. You do it in good times to stay sharp, not just in a crisis.
And the audit itself is massive. It covers the environment, strategy, organizations, systems, productivity, and all the core marketing functions.
It's a full health check for the entire marketing operation.
Understanding all these controls brings us to our final segment. The future of marketing. It seems like top management is demanding more accountability.
Way more. Moving away from pure intuition and toward demonstrable science. Our sources detail 5 demises that the future holds.
Demise number 1.
The demise of the isolated marketing department and the rise of holistic marketing where everyone participates.
Second.
The demise of free spending marketing and the rise of ROI marketing where every dollar has to be justified.
Third.
The demise of marketing intuition and the rise of marketing science, demanding rigorous analysis.
Fourth.
The demise of manual marketing and the rise of automated and creative marketing where technology helps the process.
And fifth.
The demise of mass marketing and the rise of precision marketing, targeting specific segments and individuals.
So to succeed in this future, marketers need a whole new set of skills.
A completely new set, mastering CRM, data mining, experiential marketing, and sophisticated profitability analysis. The bar has been raised significantly.
So after all that, what does this really mean for you, the learner? This deep dive shows that the path to long-term success is...
Well, it's fundamentally holistic. It demands integration on every single level.
Absolutely. It means integrating all your internal functions, making sure every employee is truly customer-focused. It means pursuing genuine social responsibility that actually aligns with your business model.
And it means mastering these advanced control metrics, moving way beyond just checking sales figures to rigorously analyzing profitability by customer, by channel, by product.
The 21st century marketer has to be this blend of creativity and science. You have to move beyond just instinct and toward absolute accountability. New rules are emerging all the time. It's an incredibly exciting, but also incredibly demanding time.
It really is. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "This time, like all times, is a good one, if we but know what to do with it."
That's a great quote for this. The complexity is immense, but so is the opportunity for those who actually choose to implement a truly holistic approach. Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to think about on your own. Our source material lists 10 deadly marketing sins that show a company is in trouble. Things like not being customer-focused or failing to find new opportunities.
So consider this. If you were to perform a quick, strategic marketing audit on your own life or your team or your whole organization right now, which of those 10 deadly sins would you be most guilty of?
And maybe more importantly, what's the one single change you could make? A small shift in culture, a new metric for accountability, a new focus on transparency. What one change would give you the highest return on effort to start fixing it?
Something to think about.
Food for thought until our next deep dive.